All right, guys. Hey, welcome to our Monday sales call. I'm excited to be able to have Freddie Marichal with us. I've had a chance to be able to watch him grow this in this business over the last few years, and it's really, really cool, man. Because we live on like the total opposites of the country. You know what I mean? Like you're in the Northeast, now you're moving to Texas. I feel right.
Yeah, so I came from Boston, and now I moved to Austin, Texas. So
Man,
yeah,
what made you move?
you kidding me? You been to Texas, man? This is
I've
amazing.
not been to Texas. I don't want to be in
Oh my
Texas. I
God.
love it in Vegas. So
No, listen, I love Boston, I love New York, big cities, but this is just up and coming.
I love
And
it.
it's very diverse, great culture, and I'm just excited about it, to be honest.
And no state income tax. That's a big one. So
That's right. Yeah.
um, that's a big one when you write up the amount of insurance you write, bro. You know what I mean?
Best one.
That's like an extra paycheck a year. So anyways, hey, so for those that don't know your story, Freddie, if you can share it with them, because most of the people on here probably never heard of you because we're on the West Coast so frequently,
Yeah.
unless they follow you on Instagram or whatever it may be. So, how'd you find Family First Live? What'd you do before that? All that good stuff.
Yeah, so well, I found out about Family First Sight. It was through social media. It was on TikTok, one of
Wow.
those. I know it was after work. So I come from the financial field. So I was working in multiple banks before this. And funny enough, I'm like, all right, let me looking around, I found a couple of like funny videos on TikTok, and then out of nowhere, I see an Andrew Taylor video where
No
Zach G
way.
talking about the business. And I'm like, life insurance. It's people doing 25,000 a month. I'm like, wait, what? And I just looked into it. I watched a couple more videos on YouTube, and then I just went on the website. Funny enough, I was like kind of like one of the clients. I fill out a form on Family First Life, and then Eric Schmidt reached
Love it.
out to me.
Great dude.
Yeah, he's amazing. He was blowing up my phone. He called me like 6 times. I'm like, who is this guy calling me 6 times? Who the hell he thinks he is? And you know how Schmidt is. He's just old business. So he called me. He asked me. He was like, so before he called me, I was like probably spending 2 hours just doing some research about the business itself. I just wanted
Okay.
to know more about it, like what Family First Life was, like how come they were making so much money. Like it just in my head, it didn't make any sense, right? And I had a decent job. I'm like, these people, like I'm already licensed. These people making how much money? So he gave me a call. We had a conversation, and he was just like very blunt about the whole situation. I'm like, he was just like, I mean, what questions do you have? I'm like, well, I've done enough research. Can you like explain to me how like the chargeback works? He goes, just don't stop working. I'm like, okay. I need more than that, Eric. What do you mean by that? And he goes, man, listen, just write good business, work, hire other people to do the same thing and just teach them the way, right?
Right.
And then as soon as you're an adult and you're showing up every day, you shouldn't have any problems. And I'm like, all right, that makes sense. That's pretty fair. And then from there, he just told me a little bit more. And then he just, hey, when can you start? I'm like, dude, I'm writing my 2 weeks notice right now. Are you
Right.
kidding me? Give me 2 weeks and I'll get going.
So, how did you transition from being full time at the bank to selling insurance? Like, because a lot of people ask me that question, right? They go, "Well, do part time people make it here?" And we do. We have people that do. And then obviously, we're not telling for those of you that have a job to quit your career because it obviously provides, income and stability for your family. How did you do it?
So, like, I'm one of those that like I can't do like multiple things at once. I can't multitask. So like I tried doing like other like side hustles while I was working. And I'm like, well, I'm already licensed. In my head, it just makes sense. I'm already licensed. I give myself a month to figure out worst case scenario, I can always go back. Like
Right.
I know they love me. I know they were like, oh, well, no worries. Anything happens, come back. But I'm like, I gotta figure this thing out. So like I put in my 2 week notice. I told Eric, like within that period of time, I'll get contract. I was already licensed, so it makes it a little easier for me. And I'm like, I just dove. I just dove in the pool. I'm like, there's no, oh, let me go with my feet first. None of that. I'm like,
Right.
let's go. If I drown, I drown, but we're gonna figure it out. So,
Right. So, what'd you do your first month writing insurance with us full time?
so I did. Funny enough, I didn't help any families for like the first 2 weeks, and I finished that month probably like 28, twenty
Wow.
eight thousand. Yeah. So like the last 2 weeks, I went off. I went on a streak. I remember I was in the field back then too. There was
Right.
no telesales.
Right.
So I remember I did one back-to-back days. I did like 8,000 in the field. I'm like, damn. And then I'm seeing those America deposits. I'm like, damn, this is real.
You're
Okay.
like, this is what that video was talking about.
Okay, it's not a scam. Okay, it's not a scam. And then I was like, okay, this is real. And then you see those deposits coming in. You're like, okay, well, exactly what I did those last couple of days. Let me just keep doing it.
Right.
And you buy more leads. You get better on the phones. You book more appointments. You show up to more houses. And at that point, you door knock in between appointments, and momentum kicks in, and great things happens.
I love it, man. When you so you've gone Hall of Fame 3 times, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. So for the new agents on the call that have no idea what that means, because we use that term so frequent that so many people have like no idea what it means. To go Hall of Fame, it means you wrote $400,000 by yourself in 1 year worth of insurance. Just so you know, like in the entire industry, you're like in the 0.0001%. You know what I mean?
Amen.
So Freddie's done it 3 times. And last year you did how much?
550, no, 650, excuse me.
650. Right. So it's pretty impressive. You did that all telesales?
All telesales, yeah.
I love it, man. What kind of lead blend did you use to write that type of premium? And like what does your schedule look like?
So schedule, well, with the leads itself is mostly veteran leads, and it's like Facebook marketing, like Facebook ads. And then in regards to like, I spend about $300 a day on
Okay.
the ads. So like, I mean, you're looking at 2,100 a week. And then in between like those type of leads, I also like started implementing the last 6 months on IULs in Spanish.
Yep.
Just since I'm bilingual, I'm like, let me just maximize that as
Right.
well. But in regards to like the veterans themselves, like schedule is pretty simple. Like for me, I mean, if I go Eastern time, like I gotta work from 9 to 7, like non-negotiable. Like,
Right.
like I'm 29, I don't have a family. Like, what else? What should I be doing? Like,
Right.
this is it. Like for me. So I simplified my life. I'm like, you know, let me do 9 to 7. Let me obviously implement, working out in the morning. That way I get it done and I can just truly focus on the business, the next couple hours. And honestly, in regards to schedule, it's more just like staying really disciplined to it and having non-negotiables because things will always come up in regards to schedule. You
Right.
know, so-
So that's what I've always asked, right? Like Freddie is like you hear people that do these crazy amazing numbers and like people go like, how do they do it? And I'm like, dude, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. They just don't do the dumb shit that you do. Like, let's just call it what it is. Like, they're not going to go mow their lawn in the middle of the day because they can. They're not going to go do the laundry at like 2 p.m. because they can. Like, they're working, bro. They just happen to work from home. That's all. You know what I mean? Like that's the cool part. So with the amount of business that you write, are you a big dialer guy? Are you a I'm going to call it all on my own guy? Like, do you do a blend of both? What is your thoughts on that?
Whoa, I'm a blend of both. So
Okay.
started doing telesales probably like a year and yeah, this point will be like a year and a half. And like the moment I found out like you can hire someone else to like make some dials in between, why not? You said it. There's only 24 hours a day. There's only so many. I only got 2 phones. Like there's only so much I can do, even with a power dialer. So I did hire a dialer who, works 40 hours for me and books
Hmm.
appointments. And in between those appointments, if they no show me, I'm not crying about a no show. I'm just like, all right, who's next?
Right.
And I just, either follow up the people that no show me before, or I go into a brand new, prosper lead, or I'm just doing follow up on somebody who I didn't get banking before. I'm
Right.
just it's just all about the activity. What's next
I
for
love
me?
it. It's funny. It's funny you say that because like I looked at it like buying my time back. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like people go, there's only 24 hours in a day. Facts, there is. But if I work 10 and I hire 2 other people to work 8, bro, I got a lot more than 24 hours now. That's 26 hours for those of you that can do math, right? So I got more hours in a day. I got 3 efforts in one day. That's how I grew my business. Like people were like, dude, how'd you sell so much? How'd you build so quick? I was like, I hired staff immediately. I had $2 when I was in the field, right?
Nice.
$2 full time. I had 2 full-time employees. So like any of my pending business or something stupid that happened with the client or whatever it is, I'm like, you can call America and wait on hold for 40 minutes. I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
like that's the crazy part, Freddie, is like when I did this, and for those of you that want to, I highly suggest you do it. Take $1 million and divide it by 40 hours a week. The pay rate is about $550 an hour, give or take, right? Most millionaire works more than 40 hours, but let's just say they did. Freddie, when I learned that, I was like, wait a second. When I wait on hold for Americo and it's a 45-minute wait, that means that call cost me $400.
Jeez.
I'm like, dude, I can pay someone $20 an hour to do that. Like, why would I do that? Because I'm more efficient selling insurance. Because when we sell insurance, we make more than $500 an hour. When we recruit agents, we make more than $500 an hour. When we teach agents how to sell, we make more than $500 an hour. You see what I mean? And see, like that's how, like people go like, how did you get really, really profitable, and how did you like become so efficient? Because, dude, like I just bought my time back and like focused on the things that were going to make me money. Like Josh said, money making activities, right? Like money making activities, in my opinion, there's only three in this entire business: selling, dialing is not one of them. Selling is one of them. Recruiting and teaching the people that you just recruited how to sell. Like that's it. Those are the only three things that pay us really, really well in this business. You know what I mean? It's funny you said that. You were like, I spent 300. You said it so nonchalant too. You're like, I spent $300 a day. It's 2,100 a week, and it's like 8,400 a month on leads. But he writes 50.
Mhm.
Like Freddie, I've always shared this with our guys. The numbers are always 1 to 4, 1 to 5. For every dollar you spend, you'll make 4 to 5. So when you
Yeah.
look at your numbers, people go, man, he did 650 last year. I go, but he's also spending 3 times more on leads than you. So he just has more people to talk to. So, like,
Right.
Freddie, you tell me if I'm lying. When you spend $300 a day on Facebook ads, your low hanging fruit, you have more than most people.
Yeah.
Just on laydowns alone, you'll go Hall of Fame.
That's right.
But here's what
Right.
people don't understand.
Yeah.
People go, oh my God, that's 300 a day. I go, no, 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 no. When you spend 50 a day, it's more dangerous.
Hmm.
Because you don't have the amount of leads that come in, you are now obligated to oversell your clients, and that's where chargebacks and all that shit happen. But when you have $300 a day of clients that are coming in every day, you go, hey, dude, do you really want this? Yeah, I do. All right, cool. Let's do it. Do you want this? I'm not going to give you my bank info. Next. Like you're not worried about it because you have so many other people to call.
That's
It's
right.
actually easier to write 650 than it is to write 200. That's what people
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. Like, can you comment on that?
Just the belief, right? It's the inner belief, right? So, and also who you surround yourself. Like, I mean, we have a Just Hustling group, and we're all on the same, like, same track, same mindset. Like, and we, hold each other accountable in regards to that. And it is what it. So, like, even in the field, like, I understood that because the first 2 weeks I didn't sell anything. It's because I wasn't invested in the business. So, like, first of all, I don't have the skill set at that point, right? When I first started. And I'm not investing in the business and I'm not believing in myself. I'm going nowhere, right? And I understood that. I was like, all right, well, the last $2,000 I got to invest in now. And that's what I did. I went all out and I knew that, well, my back was against the wall. Now I have to go out there and perform, right? And like you mentioned, doing that initial investment, it's a couple of things it does for you. One, you have that confidence, like, okay, I know I'm gonna make it back and more, right? And two, you understand that, okay, I have the right system, I have the right people. There's no way I can fail. I just can't, you know? Like the numbers are always gonna, work out.
Right. And that's the whole like scared money don't make money thing.
That's right.
You know what I
Don't
mean?
use in
Like,
Vegas though. This business perfect. Vegas, no.
oh my God, that is actually really true. That is really true. But I say that because like, you have a pretty good sized team too. And the amount of people that go, this is my last $700. And I'm like, bro, don't even spend it then.
Yeah.
Because like if what happens is because once you spend it, you're gonna have this pressure to sell. It's called commission breath. And
Hmm.
then your clients can smell it because you're so
Oh yeah.
damn greedy. And what happens is because you are and they feel it on the phone, they just don't buy from you. And then you go, this business don't work. No, dude, like it's you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So let's dive into some script stuff. So like you do a primarily veteran final expense. It's a very
Mostly, yeah.
niche,
Yeah.
mostly.
Mostly, yeah.
What would you say, like 80% of your business?
Yeah, 80%, Steve.
Okay.
80%.
So for most people, like they're used to running like the traditional final expense, right?
Mhm.
Veterans has been a very strong niche that we've ran in the last year for a lot of people in the company. Um, can you give them like a brief overview of like what veteran final expense really is?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple things, right? So like now, I mean, in regards to the veterans, they have multiple streams of income, right? It's not your typical, final expense, which they just depend on Social Security, right? Another thing about the veterans are they're unique, right? They have a certain personality that you have to like match or at least respect, right? Like your typical final expense, you can have, a regular conversation and, it can flow really smooth. With veterans, you have to like relate to them. You have to like thank them for the service. You have to be like grateful for who they are, which they are. Like they are a veteran, so we
Right.
appreciate them. Now, in regards to the final expense, it's like any other. Like for me, and I learned that for you, Steve. Like I watched one of your YouTubes when I first started. You were like, "Man, I don't care if I'm calling a mortgage protection, if I'm calling a veteran. My script sounds the same. I just switched like a couple things,
Right.
right? And it's the same thing. I wanted to continue that in the business. So for me, it's super simple. Hey, hey, Steve, this is Freddy, your veteran consultant. Honestly, just giving you a quick call here in regards to that request you submitted. It looks here that you served in the Army. Is that about right? Yeah, I served in the Army. All right. Awesome. Well, before I continue, I mean, thank you for your service. How many years did you serve? Oh, 10 years. Oh, that's amazing, man. We appreciate you. Now, let me just verify some information. I got you here that you're 75 years old. Is that about right? Yeah, I'm an old head, man. Hey, man, you sound young, man. You sound like 55. God bless, man. That's a blessing. And oh, thank you, thank you. And then look, I got you located here in Texas, and it looks like you wanted to put your spouse as the beneficiary. Yeah, that's about right. And then at that point, typically they're like, yeah, I just want a quote. I'm like, typically, I'm not saying all the time. And if it gets to that, you have to like overcome the objection. So I always go with, hey, listen, my job is simple. Just a guy who's gonna see if the VA Life or the veteran-friendly carriers makes the most sense for you. Okay. Now you see here that you put your spouse. How long you guys been married for? And then I kind of just proceed to that and get a little more detail on it. Now, it's super important because you have to like ask these veterans like specific details about what they have currently. Because some of them are knuckleheads, and they think they have $1 million policy and they don't. So like I asked them, very simple. I'm like, hey, Steve, like, it looks here that you don't currently have any policy in place. Is that about right? And they go, yeah, I think I have like 20,000. Not sure. And I'm like,
That's how they always answer, bro. Not sure, kind of,
not
maybe.
sure.
Yep.
I'm like, that's great. Okay, it's 20,000. All right. Well, what got you looking into more insurance? They're like, well, I just wanted to see if I can get more. Okay. But what made you feel that what you currently have, isn't enough, Steve? And then they go into like specifically, okay, I'm just looking for, either final expense, either leave a legacy, or they just want to pay out some debt. God forbid they leave behind. And once you identify that, some of them, if they don't have any insurance, like Steve, you're gonna hit in the head. Like, and I learned this from like my top guy, which is Madison Pimentel. He's like, "What made you wait so long to look into insurance? You're 78." And they'd be like, it's life, man. I just started looking into it. I saw the Facebook ad, and like there, they know you're not just a typical,
Right.
sales guy. Like you're asking them tough questions that some people are not willing to do, or even, emphasize certain points in your script where it makes them a little uncomfortable. And then at that point, they'll tell you why they're looking for the insurance. And before I proceed to like going into like the health questions, I asked them, now, Steve, like, why you want to get insurance now? Why not wait? And I pause. And then they'll literally emphasize why it makes sense for them to do it now than waiting for later. That way you avoid the thinking about it objection. And then obviously from there, Steve, we just go into like the health questions and things like that. Um, after we go over the health questions, then I go over like, going over the options. I tell them, get a pen and paper. I go over like the detail of like a whole life policy is. I ask them if they know the difference between term and whole life. If they do, great. If they don't, I like break it down. But now we get to the script, and like right before we go into like the numbers, I tell them really quick, Steve. Just want to give you this disclosure, okay? Like, have you ever applied for insurance before? And they're like, yeah, a long time ago. I'm like, okay, well, no worries. No health exam, no physical, no blood, no urine, nothing like that. We're just gonna do a prescription check. And basically all they do, they just verify your MIB, right? Your medical information bureau or background check. Just to make sure you don't have any crazy like, medications for like cancer or HIV. I'm assuming you don't, right? You're not lying to me. Like, no, 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 no. Like, all right, okay, good. All right. Well, let me know when you're ready. And then like, give me a minute. So then I just go over, gold, silver, and bronze, go over the options. And then while I'm offering the options, Steve, I go, okay, well, the gold option here, write it down for me. Let's say 30,000. That would be, it's gonna be $250 a month. Okay. Uh, and they'll be like 250. Okay, all right. And then I go the silver option now. This is typically what most veterans get. It's the most popular option. This is like 20,000 for, 180 bucks. Okay. And then I go the bronze option though, bare minimum. This just takes care of like, basic funeral. We're looking at 10,000 for about like 90 bucks. Okay. And then I pause. And then they're like analyzing it. Then I go, now none of these options are guaranteed though, Steve. But if you were to qualify, since there's nothing for us to think about today, which one you feel makes the most sense for Barbara? And I just name the beneficiary, whatever. And I just pause there and I let them process everything. And typically they'll go like, back and forth, like, I don't know if I want to do bronze or silver. The gold is definitely out of the way. I'm like, all right. So let's go. Okay. Can I make a suggestion, Steve? And they're like, yeah, yeah. Well, based on the budget we review, yeah, I think the bronze option will make a little more sense for you. Do you agree? They're like, yeah, yeah. Can I add more coverage later? And I'm like, yeah, I'm your guy moving forward, man. You're gonna have all my information. That's not a problem. Then okay, yeah, that makes sense. And then like, well, what about 15,000? What would it look like? Like they always say that for some reason. It would be this, and boom, they just go with it. Um, and then any question, I can pause here, Steve, if you have any
No,
questions.
dude, you're rolling, bro.
Yeah,
So like, what's funny is I've always taught our group. I go, make it conversational, not interrogational.
yeah,
And like while you're talking, I'm like, dude, you're following the script because I know what you're doing. But I'm like, you're just having a conversation. That's the feel of the conversation. Hey, Freddie, this is Steven, your veteran consultant. Just getting back to you about the form you sent back in, man. Hey, it says that you served in the army. Is that right? Cool, dude. Like, how long? How long were you there? Blah 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 blah. Thank you for, like, it's so conversational. While a lot of new people, what I've noticed, Freddie, is they're so uptight
yeah,
because they're reading the script.
yeah,
And the script is a guideline. Let me make that very, very clear. Like, Freddie, I've said this thousands of times. If we took you, Mel, all the other 100 or 200 people that sell Hall of Fame at Family First Life, and we lined every single one of you guys up and be like, sell,
yeah.
none of you would sound the same. But all your sales presentations would have the same components: who you
Hmm.
are, why you're calling, you're setting the table, going through financial inventory, underwriting, showing options, app, close the deal. It's
Yeah.
this, everybody does it. What they say might be a little different, but they're
Hmm.
doing the same thing. You know what I mean? And that's what I try to get over to like new agents all the time. I'm like, dude, like I understand the script. That's the thing that I find that's most fascinating is bet money, Freddie. Someone in here is going to be like, "Yo, bro, can I have your script?" And I'm like, Like you have 10 veteran scripts and they all sound the same. Like, how about you just do the work and call people now, by the way? You know, like, right? Like it, and that's the reason why I love that. One of the things that you do, we nail in our training. We say ask better questions, get better answers. And
Yeah.
that's where you were like, hey Bob, why is it taking you so long to get this covered? Like, why is it taking you 78 years to finally look for some insurance? Because most people won't ask that question. And because you will, you show like you care. That's a genuine question for you. And now you can use it toward the end,
Hmm.
right? When you close them. That's the stuff that I always tell people. I'm like, dude, people are like, well, what question should I ask? Bro, they change by the appointment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's a feel. Like you just gotta do it and like find what to press, man. Like when a doctor comes in, Freddie, like they don't know what's wrong. So they're gonna ask you 1,000 questions. Freddie, you broke your arm. What happened? How'd you do it? What hurts? How long ago has it been? Have you iced it yet? Did you use heat? Did you like they're just gonna ask you questions until they go, I know what happened, right? That's the same thing we do. So many of us just go, here's a script, and I'm going surface level. And I'm like, dude, surface level is great, man. But if you want to be a Hall of Fame producer that sells 650, you got to dig. You got to press until it hurts, right? Dude, like, what makes you want to get it now? You know what I mean? Like, those questions, 99% of the people on this call, unless they're Hall of Fame producer or a top producer, won't ask that question because they're scared of the answer.
Yeah.
And that's why you sell so much because your script sounds the same. For everybody that's on here, you have his script because we have something very identical. Yeah, I just won't ask those questions though. That's the
Yeah.
difference. So, um,
Gotta
I
modify it.
I love that you said, you know, I asked these questions ahead of time to eliminate the objections because a lot of brand new agents don't understand that objections are prevented. You
Yeah.
don't overcome them. Top producers prevent them. You know what I mean? Like I always love it when they go, Freddie, how do you overcome this? And you're like, I don't get that. And they're like, what do you mean? And it's because you do it early, right? What are some of the things that you hear though when you close, right? If they have like VGLI or they go, I have like 400,000 or I have like so much with, you know, USA, whatever it is. What are some of those objections that you hear that you got to actually put some effort into to close?
Well, with VGLIs, it's just term insurance increases every 5 years. I
Right.
mean, it depends on like the specific scenario, right? If they say like, oh, I'm getting a policy to like Navy Federal, things like that. I usually like right there, I'll do research. I'll start Googling. Like I'm like, okay, yeah, how much is the policy? And typically it's an accidental policy that
Yeah.
I get through them. You know, like I come from the banking industry. Like they either offer you accidental or term. They can't offer you whole life, nothing else. Like I just know that. And then from there, I'll do some research, do some calculations, and then I just tell them the difference, you know? And then also I tell them on the specific, like, hey, listen, you can go through Navy Federal. That's great. But at the same time, you're gonna get the hands-on experience of me, like meaning like you have my assistant and I, and anything you have in regards to the policy, we're gonna be servicing that policy for your lifetime. Like, you know, you get a policy to Navy Federal or any other bank or VGLI, you're not gonna have somebody assigned to you. You any issues you have, like you want to change your address, you want to do anything to that policy or beneficiary, you have to call them, be on the line
Right.
for 2 hours. Do you really want to do that? Right? If it gets to that point, right? But typically, as long as they know you're willing to help them out and do like extra research to like help them and figure out together, they're like, yeah, you know what? What are the options again? And then from there, you just continue in the conversation.
What do you
Yeah.
say when, like, you know, so many, unfortunately, man, and this is very unfortunate, that a lot of veterans think they get buried for free?
Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, no, it's tough. So I paint them the picture and I tell them, you know, what they do a reimbursement. Okay. So Steve, okay, let's say you know you were to pass away tomorrow. Honestly, all they're gonna do is a reimbursement about $2,000 to your spouse. That's gonna take weeks for her to receive. And the worst case scenario is if you don't have any coverage right now, that means it's gonna be coming out of her pocket, GoFund, or somebody else. Like, do you really want to put your spouse or like 54 years through something like that? And I pause, and then they're probably like, no. I'm like, yeah, I didn't think so. Like at the end of the day, I'm not here to break the bank, man. I'm here to work with you, not against you. So let's figure something out. That way we can avoid, that devastation for her, when that time comes. So some of them are just knuckleheads, like I said. Like you can't get through them. You tell them, you give them the information, and you're like, hey, you know what? I got a call in about 5 minutes. Let me get back to you next week. Is that fair? And I have my assistant and dialer, like, follow up with them. You know.
You see, and that's the other thing. Like, there's a question from Stephen Reimer, and he was like, what do they say when they're being buried in a VA cemetery? Dude, just because you're a veteran, you have the lot is paid for, but opening and closing ain't. That's what people don't
Yeah.
understand. Like, there's a lot of things that are not covered just because you get buried in a
Mhm.
VA cemetery. Like, they just aren't. And that's what we're talking about, Freddie and I, is like you have to be so firm in that answer because the worst thing that can happen is if your belief, because, and I'm not talking about you, Stephen, if you don't know your shit, they'll know
Yeah.
because they're listening to the confidence in your voice. So, like, if you're going to sell veteran final expense, you should probably study what they get.
Mhm.
Probably that'd be a good idea to go. All right, what do they actually get when they die, and like, what are the benefits? Well, the benefits are they get their plot for free, like where they get buried. Yeah, them and their spouse get that for free. But opening and closing, that's not free.
Yeah.
Like the services, it ain't free. And if you want this detailed list, go look at it on the VA website. But they don't know that. And so, like, the hardest thing about this sale is being able to confidently tell them that. You know what I mean? Like, that's the hardest thing. So, um, what are some of your tips? You said talk to them earlier. You said the difference between VA versus regular FE was like how you talk to them, right? What are some
Yeah.
other tips that you have for selling veteran FE?
Well, another thing I would recommend, like even before you proceed to like the application, like don't say, "Let me send you my credentials." And I learned that from I learned that from obviously my business partner Mel Tejada. Don't say credential. That's like defensive for them, defensive mechanism. They're like, "We're gonna fight." Like, no, no, no. So I tell them, "Hey, listen, Steve, I'm your guy moving forward, right? Let me send you my information. That way you have my contact information, my email, and my assistant's phone number. That way, once I help you out with the policy, you have multiple sources where you can contact so we can help you out. Type of services that we do, obviously, we're able to increase your coverage in the future. We can change your beneficiary. If you need to update your routing and account number, I'm your guy. Listen, I don't want you, waiting in line for an hour or two on hold. While you can just call me and we can take care of it. Make sense? They're like, oh, I love that. I send them like literally it's just a digital business card of my like a picture of me, a little bit about a description of me and my business, and that's it. I don't send them no state license, none of that, because it's like you went so far, and now Steve, I gotta prove myself again. Now it's getting weird, So like I just assume that hey, they already trust me if we're already like 15, 20 minutes into the call.
Right.
You know?
And that's what I wanted to ask you is, it's funny you say that because so many people are so stuck on that. And that's where I go, confidence trumps credibility. Like, Freddie, I don't know if you know this. Steve Giordano goes sells insurance in tank top, backwards hat, and shorts.
Yeah, no, I've seen that.
And people are like, what? That's what he wears? No, no, no. You can't wear that because you're not as confident as he is.
Yeah,
He is.
yeah.
Confidence trumps credibility every day of the week. If you sound like you know what you're doing, they'll probably believe it too.
Mhm.
You might be the most credible person, knowledgeable person out there. But if you're shaky on the phone and they can hear it, sorry, they're going to press you. People
Mhm.
ask all the time, like, why are they asking me such tough questions? Because they can hear it in your voice that you don't even believe what you do.
Mhm.
Because it's different than face to face. Face to face, Freddie, they can see us, they can buy our charisma, they can like see our smiles. They can't see that over the phone. And so, like, the only thing they can do is hear. And if you
Yeah,
don't sound good, they own you.
that's right.
You know what I mean? And that's the practice that we got to get, man. Like that's what I try to get people to understand is like, dude, the phone is a different beast. It's a different beast. Can you talk about that? Because you transitioned, right? From obviously face to face to telesales. There's some kinks in there, a learning curve. What were some of those things?
Tonality. Tonality is huge. And then also I noticed that like while I was, compared to like you mentioned it, feel and then the phone, like whenever we're in person, we're doing hand gestures, we're smiling, do the same thing on the phone. You got your earphone
Absolutely.
on? I stand up, I start doing this, I start talking to them, blah, 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 start smiling, and then like I just feel like they're right in front of me. And they feel the same thing. Instead of just being like this and calling and falling asleep and you just, going over your script and it gets you nowhere.
Hey,
So
the best part is earlier when you were like, hey, my job is real simple. I was like, bro, everybody does that. Like, my
yeah,
job is real
we learned it
simple.
from
It's
Mel.
like
We
we're
learned it from
backing
Mel.
up from that. But it's true because
Yeah.
that's how we work. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like some people can't sit still, which is fine. Like get up and talk to your client. Some people can. More power to you. But dude, like emotion creates motion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So sorry man, I'm having too much fun doing this.
Yeah.
Um
No, this is fun, man. You kidding me?
can everybody do what you do? Can everybody go Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah, 1,000%. Like I said, it's just like having non-negotiables, sticking to a schedule, and buying enough inventory leads. Like you have to, you know, because this is the thing though. This business is unique because it's all about momentum, right? But the only way you're gonna build that momentum is through discipline. That's the only way. Because you're gonna have listen, you're gonna have back-to-back days where you can't even close a door, Steve. This is gonna happen. It's just part of the business. And then you have days where you help five families.
Yep.
And and then you look at your whole week and you're like, I didn't do anything different.
Sweet G.
You know?
Oh,
You look at your whole week and you're like, I woke up at the same time, I did the same affirmation, same prayer, did the same amount of calls, went through all my appointments. But this day I only helped one family. Next day I helped six. Next day I didn't help anybody. So it's just about sticking to your non-negotiable, being disciplined in regards to your schedule, and just knowing that at the end of the day, the phone, they owe you, man. They owe you.
they owe you. The
They
field,
owe you.
like we used to say that the field owes you,
Yeah.
right?
We're
Um,
switching to the phones now.
yeah, we just got to switch. It's funny you say that because one of my mentors early on in this business was Paul, and Paul said you might have a bad day, you possibly can have a bad week, but you can't have a bad month. It's not
Mhm.
possible. The numbers always make out. They always make out. You know what I mean? And I believe that. And that's the stuff that like see here's the problem that new agents don't understand is like in the beginning they go, "Wait a second. Like I sold nobody yesterday. I sold 6 people today. I did something different." No, no you didn't.
Nope.
No you didn't. Everything's the same. It's just the way it is. Why does the sun rise on the east and set on the west? I don't know. I'm not trying to figure that out. And I don't want to know why I went 0 for 7 today and then 6 for 7 today. Like it's just what it is. You know what I mean? As we wrap up, there's going to be a few questions for people to ask, and I want to open that up too. Um, can you different objections? Um, okay, this is very interesting. My wife asked me a question that I don't understand. I thought we kind of went through that already. Do you like what objections do you get with VA leads?
Well, objections. It's the same one. Like nothing. Like a lot of people think, okay, you go into veterans, they're gonna be asking about the different veteran programs and all that. No, no, no. It's the same one. I gotta think about it. I gotta speak to my spouse or wife. I gotta talk to my kids. Um,
What do you do about that one? The one that they got to talk about their kids. What do you say on that one?
so for the kids, so typically, which I didn't mention this time, in while I'm asking about the why, if the kid is one of the beneficiaries, I ask them. Now, Steve, I like to be very clear and transparent, and I'm respectful of you. Now, are you like most veterans who typically decide on their own policy themselves, or do you need your kid or daughter to be around to kind of help you out with that decision?
Right.
That's like 5 minutes into the call. And based on how the response they give me, oh no, I gotta review it with them, or no, 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 I'm a decision maker. I like note it. Boom, he's a decision maker. That way, like later on, if he tells me I gotta review with my kids, Oh, Steve. Okay, no problem. Well, you did mention earlier that you typically are the decision maker for your own policy. Is that about right? Okay. I thought I miswrote that or something. So, like, what's really holding you back from actually providing that extra protection for your daughter? And I just pause it and then see what they're gonna, and then from there, like, handle that objection. It could be the price, could be something else. Um, for the wife or spouse, I typically in the beginning of the call, I asked them, you know, hey Steve, like let's say I know you got 20,000 right now. Let's say you were hypothetically like were to qualify to another 20,000 in coverage. We got you approved and everything like that. How will your wife feel about that? And I pause and I let them tell me. If they're like, well, I haven't discussed that with her, that's gonna be next. I already know that's coming soon. So I gotta handle that objection there. If they're like, no, I decide on my own policy, like I'm assuming she's gonna be happy. Oh yeah, no, she's definitely gonna be happy. Boom, I can proceed now. Because I know like they already either mentioned it to their spouse, talked about it, or they're just gonna make their own decision as, as the household and
Yeah.
breadwinner.
Because that's the difference is for those of you that run VA leads, you understand that like veterans do a lot of things by themselves. Like when they go to the VA, like them giving out their social is normal. That's how they're identified.
Yeah.
So like when they go to the VA, like that's how they're usually identified. So like you're rarely going to get that objection unless you're like really nervous and they can hear it in you. And then the other thing too, it's very common for them to do something without telling their spouse. I know it breaks every damn rule we have in insurance, but this is like the only one that allows us to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're smart, like Freddie said, and you ask him up front, hey, Steve, is this something that you got to do by yourself or is this something that you got to run by your wife before you make a final decision? At least now you know.
Hmm.
Right? Like at least now you know, and you can probably get the wife there. You can probably reschedule for the wife, but like at least you know. So when the time comes, you're not surprised by it, right? Do you hit a golden gem that I think a lot of people didn't catch? And you said I pause, dude. If you're taking notes, write this down. Silence is golden.
Oh yeah.
Silence is golden, and if you know how to use it properly, it is deadly in this business. Because like what a lot of people do, Freddie, is they go, all right, here's bronze, here's gold, here's silver, blah 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 blah. What option do you like best? And because they're thinking and they're not saying anything, we get nervous. So we go, well, so what happens is like, most people in your and I'm like, damn, you just lost, bro. You talked too damn quick. Matter of fact, you talked like first minute person to talk loses, right?
Hmm.
Like you want to use silence. Silence is golden in sales, right? What are some other things that you do like that you think increase your closing rate?
So that's an excellent question. I think the pausing is huge. I think also, personalizing the sale, like, just being very relatable in regards to like asking about their family, the beneficiary, if they have any kids, you know. I recently just moved from Boston here, so like I'll tell them, hey, listen, I mean, I just came from that freezing weather of Boston. Now I'm in Austin. This is amazing. So I personalize. I talk a little bit about me too. That way they know who's gonna be the person helping them out. Um, so I think that's huge. And then in regards to like asking the questions for like the social and the banking, which a lot of people tend to struggle. Honestly, like when I send them my digital business card, I tell them, I don't know if you guys realize, I mentioned, well, I'm going to be servicing your policy. If you need to change your routing account number in the future, you call me. Like I'm already assuming they're going to provide me that information.
Right.
So in case you have to, change it, I'm going to be your guy. And then I just literally ask for the question. Like for the social, I'm like, hey, so obviously you are a US citizen. I don't have to ask you that. That would be funny. Yeah, so what's your social here again? Okay, cool. Perfect. And what was the last time you had like a physical done or, did like a routine checkup? Like I want to interrupt it right away. After they give me the social, instead of them feeling insecure, I ask them a question, whatever it is. Oh,
You're
you
going to
were born in
control the
Mississippi?
conversation.
Oh, that's fantastic. And then I continue. And then for the banking, I literally, it's super straightforward. I'm like, hey, listen, so right now it looks like, when you get like that pre-check America, like that green, you're like, oh man, they're gonna get approved. I tell them, hey, it looks like we got approval, Steve. With that being said, the next couple of steps are super simple. We're going to include the legal beneficiary name, right, for your spouse. And then lastly, we're going to include the bank information that you want to use, for the payment method. Typically, most veterans, provide me with both the routing and account number. You mentioned you wanted to use TD Bank. Is that about right? They're like, yeah, 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 TD Bank. Okay. And by the way, I don't want to be rude. Do you have like a middle name or middle initial? And another pattern interrupt. You know what I mean? I tell them about it, pattern interrupt. Then they're like, yeah, I got L for Lee. Oh, perfect. Let me input that in the application too. And then once I get them the pre-approval, then I'm like, hey, really quick here, Steve, bear with me. I got bear with me for the next couple minutes here. Let me just include your beneficiary information. Why I do that? Do you typically bank online or do you use like a checkbook like my grandparents do? And I'll laugh a little like, they were like, oh, no, I bank online. All right, good. Hey, Steve, I just want to be efficient with our time. If you don't mind grabbing that routing and account number while I finish this up here, and then we'll input it as well. Okay. And they'd be like, oh, yeah, yeah. And then any objections they give me there, I just break it down. I mean, I typically don't. I mean, maybe they ask you why you need a routing account number. Steve, we go back to the old thing, nonchalant. Well, I'm assuming you're going to be paying for this policy, right? If you do qualify. Yeah, I'm going to be paying. Okay. Well, we can set it to a specific date, right, of the month. Just get that information, and then from there, we'll give me the payment date so we can select it together. And then, okay, no problem. So, like, just nonchalant, like, hey, I'm just helping you out with an application. Like, we're just going with the flow. Let's not make it weird now. That's kind of like the
Right.
flow that I'm going into, you know?
Right.
Now, when I get the information, just so you make sure you actually get paid, right, Steve? I tell them this, hey, Steve, um, if you were to get like fully approved, since this is immediate coverage, do you want it to go into effect immediately, like most veterans do? And they're gonna be obviously say yes. Yes, yes, no problem. Okay, that makes sense. Just wanted to ask. Typically, if we're able to get you approved today, right? The insurance carrier will take 2 or 3 business days for the full approval. And then from there, they'll do the initial premium. Would that be a problem with you, Steve? They're like, no, 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 no problem. Okay. Typically isn't for most veterans. I just wanted to double check, you know? They're like, okay, no problem. And then they asked me, I'm like, well, it's the 10th today. Um, so we're probably looking at like between the 11 or the 12, the initial premium will be processed. And then you get your policy within like 7 to 10 business days. Does that sound fair? Yeah, it sounds fair. Typically, I mean, most veterans, like I said, they have multiple stream of income, so they have no issues. If they did, in some cases, and they want to post date it to like the third, even if they mention it early on, I'm still saying the same thing because you never know,
Right.
right? I already have the banking. What are they gonna say? Like, oh, nah, nah, I don't want it. They're not gonna do that. Like,
Right.
so I'm like figuring ways to couple things. Get the policy active so they can get protected, you can get paid, but at the same time to make sure it's there for them. Because what happened to me, Steve, in the field was like a lady wanted to post it for a month later. And I'm like, yeah, I can't do 30 days. The most I can do is probably 2 weeks. Funny enough, Steve, or crazy enough, she died a month later.
Oh
So if I
wow.
would have posted it, that policy was not gonna get paid.
Right.
So like that's the insanity of it. And for some people that want to like post data depending on the amount, I tell them the story. I'm like, this is like real life things. It's
Right.
scary. So
And see, that's where like when you downsell, it makes so much sense. Because they're like, I'm between, bronze and silver. We're like, dude, let's just get the bronze. Because if I was a sales guy, I'd be pushing you toward the gold, but I'm not. So let's just get you covered. And then like on the third, like you said, on the third, we'll raise it to the silver's price. How about that? And they're like, oh, you can do that? Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like that's how you get people on the side. Like, because I see so many agents at future draft day, and I'm like, I don't know if y'all know this. Like, we can actually move the second payment date. Like we as
yep.
agents. So like what I usually do is I go, all right, Freddie, the way this works is like if you're approved, they're going to take the first payment within 24 to 48 hours. And then I just stop. Like you said, I pause. Because if they don't give me shit, guess what? It's coming out. Right. But if they go, oh, well, no, no worries. We can move it. Right. Like, but that's where like people default to like, hey, so what date do you want it to come out of? And I'm like, no, you're hurting
Yeah.
yourself. Like, why ask that? Like, just go, hey, the way this works is they're going to take the first premium within 24 to 48 hours and then just stop. And then they're going to go, okay, oh shit, okay, cool. Yeah, won that one. Right. Or if they give you some pushback, that's where you can go, okay, cool. Like, when do you get your social security, your pension, your VA disability, whatever it is, then you can play with it. But like, that's like you're just taking jabs. Just try to see where they're at. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that's those are the little one percenters, Freddie. I think that can help people sell
Yeah.
because
Well, Steve, you gotta think about like when you go to like you probably went grocery shopping over the weekend or whatever. You walked in there, you know you're gonna purchase something that day. Like they're on the phone call, they know they're gonna purchase something that specific
right.
day. So they're prepared for. They just want to see like, what do you allow them to do? Because me, if I'm buying car insurance and you tell me I can post it to 30 days, okay,
I'm
cool.
in.
Let's
Yeah,
do it. Let's do it. I'm still gonna be driving around though, but we can post it to 30 days.
that's funny. I love it, man. Well, Freddie, I appreciate you, bro. This call is full of gems, dude. Like phenomenal work. I appreciate you. And this is the cool part, man, is being able to like you said, is like so many people like you were in banking, and most bankers have an insurance license
Yeah.
on top of a series license and all that other stuff. And it's like, dude, like most people don't know what type of money they can make in insurance, and it's one of the most hidden gem industries out there, and it's freaking awesome. It really is, and that's why I love it, man. And so I'm excited for you, Freddie. If there's anything that I can do or Josh can do in return ever to pay you back, man, let us know. If there's any way we can ever, uh, help you, man, we'll definitely pay it forward. So,
Thank you.
Freddie, I appreciate you, man. Thank you guys so much for hopping
Yeah,
on. This upcoming Wednesday, we have Jay
guys.
Christensen from Integrity that's going to be doing a call on something called Integrity Clients. You definitely don't want to miss that. I promise you, it's going to be a free service you want to use. And it's going to save you a lot of time and be very, very efficient. So appreciate you. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, everybody, once again. And make it a great one.
Thank you
Be
guys.
blessed.
Let's kill it.